Hello, Jenny. So this is the second time I'm recording this. I do have the other recording. There is a hilarious bit at the beginning, and I will make sure you see that. But let's get to it. Anyway, you have asked me to answer the question, how do Massive Owl work collaboratively? And to kind of go instantly off track, I think when I knew you wanted to ask me this question, I thought a lot about actually all the other different ways that people can collaborate, and actually started thinking about what are the ways that Massive Owl don't work collaboratively, as in what are the other collaborative ways you can work that Massive Owl don't fit into those brackets of working collaboratively. And I started thinking about how some people will work on a project for a small amount of time and collaborate on that project for a small amount of time, but essentially won't see the whole project through. You've got people who have very different skill sets, or they're coming from very different backgrounds of practice, and so that it feels like what they're contributing to the project is very different. Like you might have somebody who's kind of a sound artist who's very much in the world of making the sound for the work, and then somebody else who's maybe a dancer who's making the movement, but essentially they're involved in a collaboration. There's all these different ways. I was starting to think about how people, because I think a lot of the time we say that we're a collaborative company, or we work collaboratively. I think that what's quite a struggle around that is I think a hell of a lot of people who work artistically will describe themselves as working collaboratively, but it will be very different from the way that we work. And so it is about trying, and like what you've asked me now, it is about trying to kind of pinpoint actually what is the way that we work collaboratively. And I was thinking about all of those different ways of working collaboratively, and thinking like ultimately what defines working collaboratively. And I kind of came to the conclusion in my head that a collaboration is essentially people working together rather than working against each other. And of course that's a broader idea, and then how do we fit into that? Because I think that's what we do. How do we do that? And I was thinking about two things really. First of all, I was thinking about that thing you said when We Used to Wait, and we first performed it at Live Collision, and how you said that our collaboration, or that you discovered that collaboration was, so strongly about the fact that what we were doing was about each of us being able to allow each of us to do what we do best. And so I was thinking that's very true, and that is one way that kind of makes up, that's one pillar that makes up our collaboration. And I was trying to work out kind of how we do that. And I always think about this thing that always comes up when I try to think about how the way we work, or how I might describe the way that we work. And it's this weird thing of, it's actually something it's quite unspoken, or it's just kind of there, and so that's why it's quite hard to describe. But essentially, I feel like as a company, the three of us, or the five of us, or the four of us, or whoever us has been in the past and in the present and might be in the future, whoever is Massive Owl at the time, I feel like those people in the room have kind of signed a invisible contract. That doesn't exist. It's almost like there is this kind of what's the phrase? Kind of unwritten rule within within choosing to be Massive Owl and choosing to be part of this company and be part of collaborating with these people. And that unwritten rule essentially is that for the process, for any of the artistic process we go in, no one in that company is artistically leading the work more than anybody else in the company. And I think for me, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to that unwritten rule in the space. And I think when you have that unwritten rule there, a lot of different things can happen. And as long as that's happening, as long as nobody is ultimately leading artistically on a project, then that project is working. That project is a Massive Owl collaboration. It is a project that is collaboratively made in the way that Massive Owl work, in the way that we work. And I mean, like it really can, like, I feel like it can really, I think what excites me is that thing is kind of tangible. It's like the fact that we've just kind of agreed that is the way that we work. And it's very simple. And then everything kind of, I feel like everything kind of follows from that very simple kind of blueprint to the way that we work, that it's just that no one in that collaboration, is leading, leading the artistic outcome of the company, on their own. And so that might mean that one of us could go away and you see this, go away and kind of write something, and write a bit of text and bring that to the room, and that's something that they've done on their own. But then at the same time, that piece of work would have been influenced by conversations we've had in the room, from decisions we've had, that we've made, changes, thoughts that we've had through arguments that we've had, or debate, not arguments but debates, but sometimes debates around what we're doing or how something might work or what is really interesting or effective material in the kind of artistic work that we're making. And I think that, I think it's so essentially, you can go and you can work within that space as an individual, in terms of it can be you, and you can be doing something on your own, and that can be either in the same space as those other people that are in the company, or that you can be doing that at home in your own time. And it's like you can bring anything to that space, and it kind of sits on top of that blueprint of but everybody's got a say around that material. It means that you have to it means that you have to sacrifice your practice, or sometimes you do have to defend it. Sometimes you really believe in something and you really understand something within the world you're creating, and you've got to, defend it, and some people have got to challenge it, and then sometimes it shifts or it changes, or they come more towards you, or you come more towards their way of thinking, so you move closer and closer through a process to ultimately all of you are on one level thinking about the work in the same way, and are understanding what the work is doing and understanding why you're doing that in the same way. I think then it goes to another level where can be more complicated and more layered. And I think what's interesting about the way that we work is sometimes we still hold on to those ways that we think about the work, and so I might still ultimately think slightly different to you or to Sam about the work, but as long as there's kind of like, there's a kind of clear, there's those clear kind of columns within the work of like understanding what we're trying to do, understanding why we're doing that and why we want to do it that way, and what the work is trying to say about the world. Then those things, it allows those more layered or complicated ways of us all viewing the work differently to sit within the work. But yeah, so I'm kind of going off in classic Danny style, because I am just kind of like thinking about it. But I think that, to just kind of go back to the question, which is how do Massaval work collaboratively? And I think that we create a space where there is an unwritten blueprint or an unwritten contract, as in we know about it, we've talked about it, but it's a kind of artistic contract that we've agreed between ourselves of that there won't be a hierarchy, that there won't be an artistic hierarchy around the work that we create, or around the work that we communicate to the outside world as work by Massaval. That work, when we've conceived it and we've made it, will be work that is equally shared between all of us, is actually a piece of work made up of three parallel visions, or one vision actually shared between three people. That piece of work, will be. I'm going off track again. I really tried to. We create a space where a piece of work that we create a frame defined by the idea that no one of us is going to lead the artistic process, that we're all going to lead on the artistic process together, equally. We create that framework that allows a breadth of kind of work to emerge. And we attack that idea by being sensitive to each other, by being insensitive to each other, by challenging each other's ideas, by changing them, by shifting them, by screwing it all up and trying to iron it out again, to the point where our understanding is something that we all share, and we've all built that understanding together equally. There we go. I think something like that in there.